Hey guys, it's Kyla at the MJC. Welcome back to the second of our videos in this series about the income and expense statement. This one is going to take on the monthly income section as well as the expenses. But before we get into the video, just a reminder that nothing in this video is intended to be legal advice. It's a video, so I can't analyze your specific situation or let you know what you should do or whether this is the right form or anything like that. So if you do have those kinds of questions, I definitely recommend that you get some brief legal advice. You can do that here in Milwaukee through the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics. If you're not located in Milwaukee, you can contact your clerk of court to find out what resources are available in your area. All right, great. So let's get into the monthly income section then. So here you're going to indicate how frequently you get paid. So if you get paid every week, you check this box. If you get paid every other week, so every other Friday or something like that, this box. If you get paid once a month, monthly. And if you get paid twice a week, twice a month rather, you're going to put this one. And the difference between every other week and twice a month is if you get paid like on set days twice a month. So if you get paid on the 15th and the 30th or something like that, that's twice a month. Versus if you get paid every other week, so like every other Friday, that's going to be this every other week option. So very similar, but just slightly different. I think most people know how often they are paid, but if that's something you aren't sure about, maybe you've started a new job or something like that, you should be able to find that information on your pay stub. So you can see here we've got just a sample pay stub here, and we can see for this one is nice enough. It even says the pay schedule is weekly, and then it says the pay period. And that's going to be more common. This pay schedule on this sample pay stub, I'll be honest with you, it does not usually say if you're paid weekly or not, but the pay period will tell you. So here, this is a 6-day period. Well, and I guess we count the first day, it's a 7-day period. So that's a week, right? Versus, if it listed a 2-week period, you'd know it was probably every other week, could be semi-monthly in that situation. So anyway, as I said, I think most of you guys will know how frequently you're paid, but go ahead and click that box and then just make note of the number beside it because we will be using that number some. So this first box under the monthly gross income wants to know all of your income from a job. So from wages, from salary, from commissions, from overtime, all that kind of stuff. You can find that on a pay stub pretty easily. So if my pay is consistent, I can take my most recent pay stub and I can see like, okay, let's take a look here. My total pay for this period was $400. That's my gross pay. Often it will label it as gross pay, but not always. So just something to sort of be aware of there. And then you're going to go back to this. Now be careful because a lot of people at this point would write 400 on this line. But remember these little numbers up here? We need to turn your payment, your either weekly, bi-weekly, twice monthly, or monthly payment into a monthly payment. So if you already get monthly, you'll notice you have no number. Easy peasy, you just write the number in. But for anyone in these other categories, you need to multiply the number on your pay stub times the number beside your type of payment. So since we're doing one where someone is paid weekly, we're going to multiply by 4.33. If you get paid every other week, you're going to multiply by 2.17. If you get paid twice a month, you're going to multiply by 2. So here, again, this person that we're working with gets paid weekly, so we're going to go ahead and take 400 times 4.33, and that gives us 1732. This is the point where a lot of people say, I definitely don't take home that much. Keep in mind this is your gross, so it's before any taxes are taken out. We'll deal with the taxes and the deductions in a moment. And so it may feel large. Now, another thing that will often come up, especially with weekly people, is they'll say my hours vary from week to week. Our usual recommendation is to say take your most recent pay stub. So take the one for the last week, unless there is some reason why it is just wildly off. So if you are an accountant and this is, the week of April 15th, and you have 60 hours of overtime and you usually only have, 1 hour of overtime, then you might take the one right before it. But for the most part, we would say take your most recent one. Obviously, our courts understand about incomes that vary. So, if you made $20 more this pay period than you did the last one, that's not necessarily going to be a huge problem. You want to be as accurate as you can, but obviously it is not unheard of to have people whose hours vary. And so those are the kinds of things that our courts can understand. You just want to get as close as possible. On this next line, you're going to put any income that you receive from pension, retirement, or Social Security. So if you receive like retirement Social Security, list it here. If you receive SSI or SSDI, list that amount here. If you receive a payout from a pension, a 401k, or an IRA, list that here. Please note, you do not payments you make into a 401k or an IRA. This is only payments that come to you from such an account after you've retired. If you don't have anything like that, just go ahead and put 0. On this next line, you're going to list any disability other than Social Security disability. So if you get SSDI or SSI, that went up here in line 2. But if you get some sort of payout from a different disability, maybe you had some sort of private disability insurance or long-term or short-term disability, that would go here. You'll also list if you're receiving unemployment. So if I'm receiving unemployment this month because I lost my job because of the pandemic, I would list that on this line. The other thing that will go here is public assistance funds. So sometimes people don't know what that means, which is fair. The biggest one that we see for folks is food share. So if, let's say, John gets $200 per month in food share, we would list that there as well. Number 4 is if you receive interests or dividends on stocks or other investments. For most folks we're working with at the Justice Center, that's going to be 0. Number 5 is going to be child support or maintenance that you receive, that you go ahead and list here. Now this can be a little bit tricky for a few things. If you're filling this out in a divorce case, and this is less common in a divorce because in the divorces it's more likely that you're required to fill out the long form 8-page financial, but if for some reason you've been asked to fill this one out, it typically is child support or maintenance, not in the current case, but in other cases. But in any case, you're going to list child support or maintenance you receive. One question we get from folks sometimes is, well, what if I'm not actually receiving it, right? So the other person is supposed to pay and arrears accrue because they don't pay. Should I list it here or not? There are a couple of different schools of thought on this. Certainly some people read this word received and they say, well, you're not receiving it, so go ahead and put 0. Other people say, well, you are getting a debt that you could collect, so you should actually list the number here. So if you're in that situation, that might be a really good time to get some legal advice, to talk to someone about, hey, in my case, given what I'm asking for or what the other person is asking for, given the judge or court commissioner I'm likely to appear in front of, what would that person most likely want in this section? If you don't receive that, you're just going to go ahead and put 0 on that line. Number 6 is for rental payments you receive. So if you have like a duplex and you rent the other half out or something like that, you'll put it there, if not 0. Number 7 is for bonuses that didn't get included for some reason in number 1. So you'll list there. And then if you have any other source of income that didn't fit cleanly into these categories, you'll list it here. So one that we see sometimes is if somebody gets kinship care, or maybe they'll say, I receive SSI on behalf of a minor child, and you'll write that amount there. So, again, you can I'll put that in so we have it. And then you're going to tally all of this stuff up. So you're going to go back to your calculator, and you're just going to add all of these categories together. And there we end up with 2182. All right, so that is the gross income, and as we said, it doesn't include any deductions yet, so it often will seem high to folks. On line 11, you're going to include the number of tax exemptions you claim. If you don't know how many exemptions you claim, you're just going to go ahead and leave that line blank. For all of these withholdings, the great news is that you can find most of them pretty easily on your pay stub. So coming back here to the pay stub, we need to know John's federal withholding. We see that it is $44.50. The state withholding down here is $20 per paycheck. And you can see FICA. This pay stub was really nice. It showed us that it's got FICA, Social Security, FICA, Medicare, so it broke that down for us. Yours may say FICA SS. It may call Social Security OASDI or SS or SocSec or things like that. Medicare might be FICA Med. It might just be Med. So sort of know that they can wear different hats, different things that they might be called. But we're going to pull this up, and then this is where we're going to remember that number we were using up here again. So I am going to, and you can see here, it adds them all together. So that's great when you're using the full financial disclosure. You have to do them one by one, but here we can literally just add those all together. It's 24 plus 580, right? And then again, I do have to multiply it by 4.33 because I want to end up with that monthly number. So we end up with 408.31. And for what it's worth, at the Justice Center, we just do a straight cutoff rather than rounding. But if you really want to round up or, down, depending on what the number indicates, that's okay. It's really a matter of preference there. So we've got there. Medical insurance is going to be if you have insurance through your job and they automatically withhold that. So you can go back to your pay stub and you can see if it lists, usually it will say something pretty obvious like, health insurance or med insurance, something like that. So I don't see any here for John. So we'll go ahead and put 0. If you have any other insurance that gets withheld, so if you have a life insurance policy, short-term disability, long-term disability, you include that there. If you have union dues that are automatically withheld from your check, you'll include those here. If you have a retirement, a pension, or some sort of like deferred comp that is, again, automatically withheld from your check, you'll put it there, if not 0. And then here, for those of you that have child support that you pay that is automatically withheld from your check, you can do that on this line. So again, we'll put 0, don't have any of those things. And then here, if you have any other deductions, most common one that we see there is a Chapter 13 payment in a bankruptcy. That would go there, maybe that's 180. So once you've got all of those numbers, you're going to add them up. So here we're going to take John's two numbers, his 408.31 and his 180. And we're going to write that total, that 588.31, on this line. And then you're going to take the total from the gross income line here, 2182, minus the total from the monthly deductions line there, 588.31. And you're going to write here your net income. So this is what you actually take home and can, in theory, spend on this line here. So we've got 1593. And I should have taken a closer look at what the last bit there was, 69. So 1593.69 is going to be the amount that we end up with there. All right, so that's all for this gross income section. I thought we were going to get to the expenses on this video, but it looks like those are going to come in the next video. So I hope you guys will join me for that one. Until then, I hope you all go out and represent yourselves well.